So a couple of months back, I visited this exact location. I was actually looking for something else. I couldn't get to where I wanted to go, and I just happened to run into this place, and it turned out to have an incredible story behind it that needed to be told. Now I'm more prepared with information, with knowledge. I'm back. So today we're going to talk about the Arthur G. Dozier Florida School for Boys. This time, I have brought the gift of knowledge with me because when I was here before, like I said, I stumbled across this. So I made that video on the fly because I didn't know what went on. And that's why I'm back, because I don't think that I gave it proper justice. It's worse than what I thought. The things that went on here is a lot more despicable than I even thought when I was here before. Back behind all the buildings, hidden in the densely populated forest area here, this is Boot Hill Cemetery. This cemetery was started and founded by the staff at the Arthur G. Dozier School for Boys. 55 students were buried in mass graves right here. In the last video I showed you the plots that remain here on the grounds are still bodies that they have not identified yet through DNA testing. They had no markers, there was no headstones, nothing. And they didn't even keep records, so they didn't even write down the names of the boys that they dumped into the graves out here. Last year when Hurricane Michael came through here, it completely flooded this area, unearthed the bodies that were here. A local funeral home, I think it says it here on these headstones, People's Funeral Home of Marianna, Florida, came and got the bodies, took them back, I guess, cleaned them up, put them in new caskets, brought them back and reburied them with some kind of dignity. But what I did not know when I was here the last time, an additional 45 burial grave sites, plots, they dug a hole and dumped the boys' bodies in it, were found out here in the woodlines, just randomly scattered throughout the wooded area out here. Again, there was no markers, no records of who they dumped out here. They basically just come and dug the holes and tossed them in it and went on about their business. Right after I was here the last time, they actually had a building collapse over there. It was a building right up next to the wood line, and that building actually caused them to be able to find 27 more grave sites that was just scattered out in the wood line on the other side.
Workers found 27 anomalies on the parcel. That would mean the total number of possible burials on the school's campus would rise to at least 82.
Somebody has put some flowers here that's fallen over, I guess due to the wind or something. Let's set it back up for them. One last look here at the grave sites for these unmarked graves. The last time I was here, I couldn't get a whole lot done. The police were rushing me off the property. I explained in that other video there was a school right next to it, and they didn't want you out here taking pictures of the school, the children who are out at recess, and I completely understand, okay? People were confused by that. So what I'm saying is there is an active school, not one that's part of the boys' school. there's an active elementary school that sits right across the street from where the boys' home once sat. All right. The day that I came before the school was in service, it was like, I think it was a Friday, and everybody, the kids were all still in there and out here, and they didn't want me filming the children on the property. Hopefully that clears it up for you. This is a weekend, school's not in session, so I can take a picture of the school today. This is just one side of the street. This is what they called the north side. Back when it was segregated, this was the African American side. There's a whole nother opposite side to the street, which would have been the white side, until 1968, and this whole school was desegregated. You can absolutely tell that these buildings have been sitting abandoned for a long time. All of this has grown up a lot since I was here last. I mean, you can just look at this light fixture that would have been right here in front of it and tell that this place is old. This one over here, the roof has completely caved in. That was Hurricane Michael's doings there. And when I was here before, I really didn't even show this building at all because I couldn't get over there to it. You can see the giant water tower there across the street. That's the other side of the property. I can't get it onto that side of the property. It's fenced off with a sheriff guarding the entrance. The Arthur G. Dozier School for Boys opened on January the 1st of 1900. For a long time, this was the largest juvenile reform school in the entire state of Florida. Prior to 1967, the school was the Florida Industrial School for Boys, and then in 1967 they renamed it the Arthur G. Dozier School for Boys in honor, honor, once you hear the stuff that happened here, you're going to know why I'm putting honor in quotation marks, in honor of its former superintendent. The average stay for boys sent here was 9 to 12 months. A whole year they were here, subjected to the torture, rape, if they even made it out of here alive. Out of all the years it was open, having its reputation for abuse and beatings and rape, even murder by the staff, there were periodic investigations throughout all those years. They had changes in leadership, promises that they would improve, but the abuse never stopped, ever. From 1900 until 1913, its first 13 years that it was open, this place was investigated 6 different times for allegations of abuse, with the very first allegation of abuse coming only 3 years after its opening in 1903. Reports came in and said that the boys who were sent here were being kept with leg irons on for many, many hours at a time without being allowed to move. Now it just looks like something out of a horror movie. They did not keep many records here at all. The few records that they did keep told chilling details about the atrocities that went on here. In 1914, there was a fire in one of the dorm houses that killed 6 boys. In their records it said in 1918, 11 boys died from the Spanish flu. There was a 6-year-old boy who died from being forced to work without being allowed any breaks. He didn't get any food, he didn't get any water. There was a record of a 13-year-old boy who was sent here. He was here for 38 days, reported dead is what it said. Also, another entry showed between 1911 and 1973 said 81 deaths. That was it. It didn't say anything else. No names, no causes of death. It just said 81 deaths. Another investigation revealed that boys were being hogtied and kept in isolation for weeks at a time. There was a report in for 1985. During an investigation, they found that the guards were handcuffing the boys and hanging them from the top bar of their cells for hours at a time. There was a record that said A boy lost his arm in an accident. That was it. No name, nothing else was listed. And another one showed that there was an accident where a boy became trapped in a running dryer. A commercial laundry dryer that was drying the uniforms that the boys wore here. A boy came trapped inside of it while it was working. It was listed as an accident. There was no name, nothing else listed. Here's a set of stairs leading up to somewhere that was behind a padlocked gate. Seriously? Here's one of the sets of stairs over here. Appears to be in just a little bit better shape. And I know that the ceiling's falling through, so I'm not going any further. Well, I'm not going to take that chance. You can see that there's still a few bunk beds here on the inside. But check out these old bunk beds. I mean, there has to be 20 or 30 of them at least in here. Just right here around the corner. A lot of the boys that were imprisoned here that survived during this time describe what they called the rape dungeon. The basement area, you can see the stairs right here leading down to it. They would take them down into the basement, handcuff them, and rape them repeatedly over and over and over again. The guards would come get the boys from their bed or their cell, depending on where they were housed. They wouldn't tell them where they were going, they would just tell them to follow. Once they walked out this door and headed in that direction, they knew exactly what was about to happen.
The sexual abuse at that school was rampant. I personally was molested by a medical doctor.
I don't know how long it'll be before they tear down these buildings. They need to go on and tear them down, though. Look, there's so much asbestos and mold. It's not funny. Look at this. Somebody has a bad list here. People, I guess they want a hit list. This was their bathroom and shower areas. Look at their showers. Just little sprinkler heads. This was a dressing room. There's really still not any way to get over here because it's so grown up all the way around this building. This was an administrative building here for the boys' school. You see, in 1968, then governor of the state of Florida, Claude Kirk, came here and visited the site. He said, in his own words, it was overcrowded. It was in very, very poor shape. Nothing ever happened. At one point, all of that was part of the boys' school, and so was this church. Yes, this church was here. It was part of the boys' school, and yes, it was involved in the rapes and torture of these poor young boys. Here's a window open. That's what it looks like on the inside. In 1929, over here on the north side, across the street, an 11-room concrete and brick building was built. It was the site of some of the most notorious beatings, and even deaths that ever occurred on this property. It was in that White House, boys were whipped, sometimes to death, with leather and metal straps. Whipped so hard, several of them had to be transported to the hospital because their underwear had embedded into their skin.
I was taken out of bed at 2 o'clock in the morning and I received 135 lashes. I saw young children that were beaten so badly that their jeans were lacerated into their skin.
It wasn't until 2008 that the state of Florida placed a memorial out in front of it and sealed the doors to that building forever. Finally, in 2009, investigators finally acknowledged the rampant abuse that went on here. It took 2 more whole years of investigations before the state closed this place down permanently. In 2017, the state held a formal ceremony for the survivors and the victims.
Today, a step towards closure. Surrounded by other victims, lawmakers finally uttered the words Dozier survivors hope to hear.
I cannot say with enough heartfelt remorse that it's taken this long for a legislature with all the evidence that is before us to come forth and apologize for what has to be one of the blackest moments on our state's history.
That's how they put it, but in my mind, they're all victims. They finally closed the doors in June of 2011 after over an entire century of abuse and torture to the boys who were sent here. To date, even with all of the remains that's been found on the property, no one, not one single person, has been charged with any crime or any wrongdoing. I hope you guys don't mind that I revisited this Arthur G. Dozier Boys School. It's such an interesting story that is really not out there that much that needs to be told. And that, coupled with the fact that they just found the 27 new grave sites, I felt like I should come back and tell the rest of the story that I didn't know the last time I was here. I want to thank all of you for watching. If you've hung around for this long, I will see you again tomorrow. I hope all of you have a great day. Oh, and if I get any more information about this place, I will let you know.